Hi, everyone. YouTube Live. I'm Adam. That's Jay Kumar. And Jay? Do you recognize the guy to
How,
your left or right, depending on where you're looking? That is
how
that
did you
Alec
get
Campbell?
how did you get Infantino on this?
Ah, yes. Will Saudi Arabia, Mr. Infantino, will Saudi Arabia get the 2030 World Cup?
You asking me or Gianni?
I'm asking Gianni.
Oh, I hope not.
Oh, how much money do they have?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter if they've got the money to throw around, which they do. Then
Yeah.
they'll probably make it happen because it's FIFA and FIFA's corrupt.
Completely
Have you seen
corrupt.
the
Yeah.
have you seen the so Argentina's bidding for the World Cup and
Yes.
Messi is the ambassador, but he's signed a commercial marketing deal to be Saudi Arabia's
Yep.
ambassador.
Yep.
So that'll be fun.
That's going
Awesome.
to work out well. That's going to work out very well. All right, let's.
That's all part of Messi's plan to play in another World Cup.
He
Go
says
out on top, man.
He's like,
right?
look, man, if I've facilitated the whole deal, then I get an automatic roster spot.
Right.
I mean, if he wants a roster spot, isn't he getting a roster spot?
I mean, I don't know. Everybody should be talking about, oh, this is going to be Messi's last time. Like, I thought I just saw Messi play for the last time in the World Cup. That's what I was rooting for. And if that's not the case, then I was led astray by everybody.
Better chance to play in the 2026 World Cup, Messi or Luka Modric?
Messi. 2026?
Yeah, that's the next World Cup, right?
Yeah. It's Messi. For sure. Especially if he comes to MLS. Like and it's going to be in the United States. There's just going to be a lot of pull for him to do that. Modric isn't a big enough star for. He's amazing, but he's not going to draw the way Messi would for marketing purposes.
I just assume that Modric is going to play until he dies, because he's 37 now and he still looked great and he stayed on for every minute of Croatia's match. All right, let's start. Let's Jay, I'll let you go first. Thoughts on? Well, I'll let you. Thoughts on anything you want to? Do you want to start with the final? You want to start with the spectacle that was the Qatari World Cup? I was told it was the greatest World Cup we've ever seen.
You know what? The Qatari World Cup is wow. The final, wow. I think for me, the final told me that like the game is so much bigger and better than even FIFA can't corrupt it as much as they try. Like not because of FIFA, in spite of it, we still get this.
Yeah.
And they know what they have on their hands, and they know they can get away with it because as long as we get matches like that, they're going to be able to keep doing this type of grift to whatever they need to line their pockets. Because, I mean, that final, holy cow, I need a cigarette. It's been a day, and I'm still like coming down from it, and I don't really have a rooting interest yet. I was living and dying on every kick of the ball for the last 30 minutes. I can only imagine if you were Argentinian or French.
What do you think, Alec?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say to that, first of all, I don't dish sports takes anymore. I'm not sure why I'm here, but
we miss you.
But I would just say, Jay, what you're describing there with the grift, as you put it, which is a great term, is sports. They've got us all by the short and curlies because they know we ain't leaving, and it's the greatest reality show that's out there. So the final was awesome. It took about 75 minutes for it to really get rolling, but once it got rolling, it was great. I love the fact that that Argentina was, in some ways predictable. I mean, Stu Holden's in the booth going, can they take it to the end of the game? Can they hold on to the end of the game? They struggled with that in the last game. And sure enough, we see 2 goals in a span of a minute and a half or something like that, 90 seconds. Two, the second one, just an insane finish from Mbappe. And the game turned out to be just an all-time classic. I still find myself kind of wrestling with the penalty ending to a World Cup final.
Oh, we're going to
Like,
talk about that.
To some degree, like it's the sport, right? We have PKs in soccer,
Yeah.
and we go to PKs in soccer, and so it's not all that novel relative to maybe what other sports do. To try to solve ties, like the 3-on-3 thing in the NHL is they don't even do it once you get to the playoffs, and
They just
that's
play, right?
strictly for entertainment and for goal scoring, and that's cool. But so on one side of it, I'm sort of like, okay, well, it's a sport. We go to PKs, and it's exciting. On the other side of it, I kind of felt like it was Buffalo, Kansas City, in overtime last year, where it's like, no, I don't want this game to end. I want them to keep playing.
Yeah.
Well, especially because over the course of extra time, and I think I know what you're saying. I mean, I thought Argentina was great from the start.
They were.
France didn't really get engaged until it was about when they brought on 2 subs in the 71st minute. And I thought that's when France really started to push. And you could see that the game had changed.
For sure.
And then you get the penalty, and Mbappe finishes it 1, and then the strike, which was beyond anything anybody in this country is capable of doing, apparently, which was incredible. And then I thought France was going to just finish it there, and they had a really good chance at the end of regular time, but Martinez made a great save.
They owned the last 20 minutes of that game. 25 minutes or whatever.
I mean, it was what was Reinhard Bubblegut's time for Argentina through there.
I was
the moment though. I mean, the goals were great, whatever. But in the 96th minute when Messi hit that, and everybody's hearts just stopped, because I was like, this is it. He did it. Like, he's gonna walk off. That's like the closest thing to a walk off you're gonna get in soccer.
Yeah. I was surprised and shocked at the way the game went for the first 75 minutes. The lifelessness from France in that game, because I sort of pegged them as the best team I'd seen in the tournament going into the finals, and to be that just lethargic was shocking to me.
Well, I think there were 2 things about it. First, I actually thought that England was the best team Brazil, when they were playing their game, which was bananas. They were the best team that I had seen. I thought England outplayed France in their quarterfinal. If Harry Kane converts the second penalty, I think England, who I thought was a deeper team than France, I thought England would have won that. But it doesn't matter. I mean, you have to finish, and they didn't. France has the best finisher in the game. I mean, Mbappe is actually Haaland is probably the best finisher in the game, but Mbappe is a better player, I think, overall than Erling Haaland. But the Messi goal at what was it, 108? Was it in the 108th minute? Right, that goal, yes. But you knew that 10 minutes to go. What could happen? What could go wrong for Argentina? Just like what happened against the Dutch, they gave up too late. They gave up too late in regulation. The save by Emiliano Martinez on who was it? I have it written down. Kuala Muani basically at the death, but it wasn't at the
kick
death.
Save.
An incredible save. But then Argentina had a chance to win it. The possession going the other way.
Yeah.
And
it was a basketball game.
And Martinez headed it so far wide. I mean, it was like he was at a 45-degree angle from his target. But the extra time was so anti what we're used to seeing from extra time in international football, because in general, both teams are either spent or they're just trying to not make mistakes. I mean, it was fast break football. It was amazing. I think
both teams realized they didn't want to go to penalties and we need to end this now, because from an Argentina perspective, they were like, we can't do this to Messi. We can't have it end and it be like on that. And from a French perspective, they were probably thinking the exact opposite. If we go to penalties, there's no way
Right.
Messi's not going to win. And so it was just, I think they both felt they needed to end it. Speaking of Messi and Mbappe, let me ask you guys a question. Have you ever come into a final or a big game like that? You mentioned Allen and Mahomes, but it was billed as Messi versus Mbappe, where
Right.
both stars delivered like that in a
Yeah.
final. Like I've been thinking, like in any sport, I can't think of one where it's been billed as the two stars, and they just did it.
Yeah, Messi was great for 140 some odd minutes. The one mistake, though, where he got his pocket picked by, was it Koeman, who picked his pocket and started the play, which was a great play. And I think Messi was looking for a foul, but I agreed with the play on because I thought
he was a little loose with the ball.
Yeah. But that was the only mistake he really made. And yeah, I mean, they were both phenomenal. Mbappe was bottled up. Argentina's defense was the best in the tournament. And for 80 minutes, they basically showed it. And then whether they ran out of gas or not. But yeah, I can't recall two players doing that, especially with all the heavy lifting that they have to do. It's just incredible. Like Alec, I thought your Mahomes and Allen was perfect because of all the heavy lifting they have to do.
Yeah, and I mean, I think about the game, when you just in general, in terms of, we always talk about what it needs, and it needs that type of marketing, right? It needs stars against stars.
Right.
I don't know that we can fulfill that to that extent in this country, which, I think is a lot what they need. They need to figure out a way to market their stars better. But man, what an advertisement for the game to be able to say like, yo, we're putting these two dudes up against each other, and then for them both to deliver in the game was awesome. What'd you think of the fouls, of the penalties that were called? Like the one in particular, I'm thinking of the handball. I guess that's letter of the law, but I hate it. I hate it so much. Just as a person who played, that's such an unfortunate call. And then I was a little, I can't remember who it was that got fouled. I was a little.
Oh, you're talking the first one, the Di Maria foul,
Di Maria
at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, maybe that was the one. There were a couple of those penalties I didn't love. I thought he
was fine. I mean,
I thought overall. No, I think overall the game it evened itself out, and he evened it out. But and I don't think it was a poorly called game necessarily. Like I liked the play-ons for the most part. I think he played the advantage well. But there's some of those fouls that I'm just like, no, I don't love it.
So I'll say this
in the
about
box.
him. A few things is he was consistent. So if it was soft, I mean, that you're talking about a soft penalty given for Argentina and a soft penalty given for France. If I'm watching a game and it's consistent, that's all I want from a ref. Just be consistent, especially in a big game. And I thought he did that. So, as soon as Di Maria got past Dembele, he was looking for the foul. And as soon as he felt the contact, he went down. And
exactly.
If you're Dembele, you don't need to make that challenge. And so to me, I was an attacking player. You were a goalie. So I kind of respect the move there, and I thought it was savvy.
I wasn't a goalie.
But I can see.
No, man. Alec was.
You were
cool.
No, I was a mule.
Yeah.
I was
all right.
I was an outside mid in a 4-4-2, man. All I did was run.
Sounds good.
Well, look.
Why did I think you were a goalie?
I don't know.
Well, you were a goalie against Austin Deleuze, right?
Yeah,
you were a goalie against Deleuze in one of our clubs.
And I saved. I made a save.
See, that's why you're a goalie.
That's why.
I didn't have a problem with fouls. It's in the first one, the one on Di Maria. If Dembele doesn't have to challenge because they were defenders, right?
Yep.
So just let them play. Just like Walker Zimmerman didn't have to try to take the ball from Gareth Bale because there wasn't enough danger there to really put yourself out. But I thought the call was proper. The handball, the interesting thing is that it was Gonzalo Montiel,
Montiel.
and right, who,
Mm-hmm.
by the way, converted the penalty that won the cup, which they didn't even talk about. Strong and Holden didn't even talk about the guy that committed the penalty, committed the handball. Also converted. I was like, wait a second, isn't that the guy? Like they didn't even
narrative.
it, and that was like, come on, man, that's a gimme for me. If he doesn't spin, if he just stays where he is, it's not a handball. But by spinning, he took his arm away from his body, and ultimately, because it probably hit him, it would have hit him in the chest if he doesn't spin. But he spins.
He made
away,
himself
so his arm was
bigger.
straggling. So I got no problem with the handball because I think it was a handball because his arm
And
was.
I think it's one of those things you do. You make yourself bigger, but now with VAR, like you just can't do it. And I feel like this generation coming up is going to be better about it than the one playing, where it was introduced after they were kind of all the dark arts that you kind of learned to kind of get away with. You can't do that anymore because there's video review. And if you grew up kind of learning how to do those things, it's hard to break that habit.
Yeah, it's hard to not stand in front of just an absolute laser that's getting rifled at your body when you have nether regions to protect. So like,
who cares about nether regions?
Like,
it's the World Cup.
Everyone talks.
Except that one, his arm was up here.
I get
so
it.
That's all.
I get it. I'm just saying, like, as for as much as people talk about, not jumping and turning and all that kind of stuff, it's hard to not do.
Right.
And the fact that you get hit in the, like, I've seen that not called plenty of times.
Real okay, maybe.
This tournament, they've been pretty consistent. I feel like they've been the VAR overall. I think the officiating this tournament, minus that one Qatari ref, has been pretty good.
In terms of being consistent, every game had 75 minutes of added time. Like I was surprised when I didn't see a double-digit number pop up. Oh, that's only 8. I'm like, come on, man.
I'm happy about that. I'm glad
I think that's a good. I think that's a good decision.
There's someone actually paying attention to how much time there should be played instead of just making a wild guess. Novel concept. Like the first, it was jarring the first day when we saw 14 minutes in the first half of game 1. I'm going
right,
and then it was like 9 and 8 and 10, and I'm like, good God, man, we've seen more stoppage time today than we've seen all year.
Let me make the argument for penalties is actually a great way to decide a World Cup or anything like this. In that, for 70 minutes, Emiliano Martinez made no saves. None. Mbappe didn't get his first shot till like the 72nd minute of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, because you can actually win without ever needing a goalkeeper. I mean, there are plenty of matches that end where the goalkeeper has made one save or no saves. I actually think it forces you that your keeper matters, and it hurt France desperately. Hugo Lloris, woof, not his thing. It's like watching Scott Darling in a shootout. It was just brutal.
God.
It was
mean.
An old man looking for his glasses at night.
So there's that. And I also think that it's the most psychological thing we have in sports. The penalties, every one of these guys can pick a corner. Every one of these guys can drill it side netting. But when you get 12 yards from the keeper and he's especially Martinez with his antics, and he's in your head, and I just think the drama of it is beyond anything. I loved it. I'm glad and they had already played almost 150 minutes anyway.
And you think about it, and this is where hockey and soccer differ slightly. When people are like, well, they play all the time in hockey. Well, if you in soccer, as you get more tired, you can drop into a deeper and deeper block, and scoring a goal is just not going to happen. And so you're just going to be in this stalemate. And so at a certain point, just for the game, you kind of need it. It isn't a sport that lends itself to being able to be played out.
Mhm.
in perpetuity as, some other sports where there's a little bit more high scoring,
I'm
factors,
with
basketball, football. So
I love the drama of it too. I absolutely
Yeah.
love. I don't know how. I mean, I've now become somebody who just lives on Sirius Channel 157. I forget who it was. Spent an hour yesterday calling Emiliano Martinez a dick. He's a dick. He's a dick. He's a dick. Just for 1 hour. That's all he did.
Yeah.
And but he says he meant it well. He meant it well. Like I'm sure his teammates love him.
So
But
did you see when he got his Golden Glove?
speaking of,
Yeah. Speaking of,
it's an unusual choice of gestures, but it is what it is. All right, Alec, let me ask you about 2026. The United States is 30-1 to win the World Cup. Is that a great bet or what?
It seems pretty good. I actually like. I think there are a bunch of different things you could talk about with the U.S. team. And as you know, my pastime is hate watching the United
You
States
hate
men's
watching the
national
United
team.
States. Yeah.
Yes. And mostly just because the style that they played and the inability to do anything at what felt like a professional level in terms of like controlling the ball,
Create.
right? Because it's almost and everything stems off of that. To me, it's like, until you can keep the ball at your feet at a reasonable, distance, you really can't do anything else because you end up in 50-50 balls all the time and you lose half of them. So you're just haphazardly giving the ball away all the time. So you can't even get into any kind of creative mode. You can't get into any kind of tactical mode or whatever. And so like from that standpoint, like I like the way it looks from the US side, from what I saw in the World Cup. I get a lot of the criticisms. A lot of times it feels like a kickabout, as they would say, and there's not a lot of penetration, right? They're not attempting to score goals type thing.
Are we talking about Emiliano Martinez again?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I think that we have better player, like an overall group of better players, like a standard of player from a team perspective that is higher. I think that they're a group of people that has watched a lot of better soccer and has had the opportunity to watch a lot of better soccer in their upbringing, which has helped. And I think that there's more of a skeleton for what it should become in the future compared to in the past when it felt like it was just, let's try to outrun and outjump people. Let's just kick it long and run after it and be faster, stronger, bigger Americans. And it doesn't work in the game. So I think there's a little more of it. It appears to me there's a little more of a mentality for the game, like an understanding of the game. Whether Greg Berhalter is the guy going forward, you guys are probably more equipped to tell me if he is or isn't. It seems like a lot of people are against him, and that's fine. Like I'm not married to Greg Berhalter, but he was, and I think that the Reina stuff is absurd in a lot of ways. But he was tasked with getting this team A to the World Cup and B through the round the group stage, which I didn't think they were going to get through based on the few matches I saw leading up to the World Cup. And he did that, and along the way, to me, has forged a mentality for the game that I hope is lasting, because we've got some dudes that are really good players and really good athletes that are going to be a part of the program going forward.
All right, Jay, you go next, and then I'll wrap up this segment.
Yeah, no, I think Alex said it well. I think the big thing with Greg, and I said this the last time we chatted at him, is that he did his job, but I think in order to take the next step, I don't think he is the person to move us into from laying that foundation. How do we build into what we are capable of doing? Mainly because at this point, while he has the foundational elements, there's a tactical, strategic aspect to the game that he's just not been able to demonstrate effectively over this entire cycle that he's been able to manage. He's got them playing a certain way, but they try to play the same way every time. And at this World Cup, you saw Morocco, you saw underdogs be able to perform because they knew what they needed to do in each game, and they knew their assignments. And it still seems as though, you saw it against the Dutch. Like, we've played into the Dutch tactical plan by every single thing we did. And that's where, now that we have the technical capacity that Alec talked about, how do you leverage that with tactical acumen?
Yeah, look,
but we also stymied the English.
They played
the way they played against England.
Their defense I think spectacular.
Yeah, I think the way we played against England, our style suits a match against them because we both want to play, so they're happy with both of us having the ball. Whereas when we were playing the Dutch didn't want the ball and we did, and we needed to kind of play their game a little bit and give them the ball and say beat us.
Right.
And instead we sucked up, and then they just took the space behind us and killed us with the same counter every single time.
Yeah, going back to what Alec's point about when we try to possess the ball, that's when things go bad, and because we don't have that finishing that we can't get beyond the 20s. I just put in a football term. Mm-hmm. We're good between the 20s. Once we get into the red zone, it goes down our leg.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately a problem. We'd be almost better playing meatball soccer and just kicking it long and going to get it and use the.
Well, our service balls were terrible.
Yeah, Pulisic was bad at that, and that normally has been his good thing.
He was average to me in the tournament, but he had his moments.
I think he was better than average, but
the service balls were bad. I did not think he was good against England. I thought he was not good. Anytime he took more,
to do something else. I think he was to be a defender almost.
Anytime he took more than 2 touches, he was a liability. He gave the ball away.
Well, he's that way anyway.
Yeah, agree.
Even when he's good, he's that way.
Some of the things we used to do well and we didn't do, like our corners were terrible in the final game. Service balls were terrible in the final game. Set pieces, not very good. So all that stuff that we used to kind of rely on, we can't. we didn't this time around.
Real quick about Berhalter before we talk about what we will remember most about this. One, he did a great job getting us to where we got. He created culture. He created a desire to be part of the program. That's step one. Getting us to the World Cup, step two. Getting us through the group, step three. No issues at all. The fireable offense is telling Gio Reyna before the World Cup that you're going to play a limited role. For the life of me, I don't know why you would take one of, if not your most creative offensive player, and tell him he's not going to play. That to me is the height of stupidity. And not to mention he's 19, and who knows how a 19-year-old reacts. And we saw how he reacted, and it created other problems. And now you've basically lost him. And the idea that you can't play him as a 9, and then at halftime of the game against the Netherlands, you put him on as a 9? Like, well, make up your mind. If you're going to do that, start him at 9 and see how it goes. If it doesn't go, then you can sub him out. With that said, I think Greg is like Buck Showalter. You does a great job to a point. Now you need somebody else to take him the next level.
Yeah, that's a real Bill Peters-ish move by Greg Berhalter on that, where it's like you're willing to lose doing it your way rather than win doing it a different way, and it it just reminds me of the Klinsmann Landon Donovan situation the last time, where, dude, you're at the World Cup, you take your best 23 or now 26, whatever it is, and you play your best players if they're available to play. Like, this isn't the time for that kind of stuff, right? Don't get in your feels right before the World Cup and try to prove a point and cut off your nose to spite your face. You know, it was the height of Bill Peters-ish moves.
Yes. All right, Jay,
Good one.
your memories of this World Cup are?
Oof. I mean, that it's hard to not pick that final.
Right.
But that's sports washing. That's what it's going to do. I think, honestly, if I'm going to pick something, it's the World Cups. I think are remembered when the home fans have something to latch onto, and you kind of have that. And Qatar didn't have a home fan advantage. There was no real. It was like rented until Morocco got going, and the Arab world deserved a World Cup. They deserve a World Cup. They care about the sport, and like we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that there should be opportunities for different parts of the world that love the sport to host the tournament.
Mm-hmm. It's the number one sport in Saudi Arabia.
The way we got here and kind of how it played out, probably not okay. And you can't cite culture for eliminating classes of people. That's not culture. That's just not acceptable. But also, as Western nations, we can't just come in with savior complex and tell other countries what to do. And so, watching the Arab world, watching players like Achraf Hakimi dance with his mom on the field after the game, and it be embraced by that region in a way that was wholly authentic, is probably going to be my lasting takeaway. And what could have been an Arab World Cup that we deserved that we didn't get because of what FIFA did.
Yeah, FIFA's corrupt. We started out with FIFA being corrupt. FIFA remains corrupt, which is why, as long as the Public Investment Fund wants to throw a few $1 billion or $30 billion, whatever the number is, doesn't matter.
Yep.
At FIFA, Saudi Arabia is going to get the World Cup in 2030. Alec, when you think about this World Cup, what are you thinking about?
I think it was one of the great World Cups from a group of sober people that I've ever seen. They were such great crowds inside the stadiums for having no beers to drink.
Well, you could in the suites.
Yeah,
the suites were fine.
Of course you could. Of course you could.
There you go.
Yeah, the bourgeois always gets what they want.
Really? Yeah. What are we drinking, Jay?
A Westbrook One Claw.
I have no idea what that is, but it sounds good.
It's from Charleston. It's good.
Oh, nice even better. Even better. Best World Cup among sober people. I think that's good.
As I tweeted, soccer 10 out of 10. Everything else 0 out of 10.
Yeah. I remember. So during the England USA game, I was drinking Bud Heavies because I wanted to drink the official beer of the World Cup that you couldn't get inside the stadium.
Argentina is getting all of it. Do you see that? Yeah. Budweiser's shipping all of the supply they had for the tournament to Argentina.
That's great. I knew they would figure out a way.
Happy about that? They don't have anything better?
I mean, who knows?
It's free beer. Who doesn't like free beer?
I don't know
what kind of beer, Adam, is free beer.
Argentina. What about you? What's your moment?
Well, there's a lot. Montiel, after converting the kick, his celebration, he just took his like normally you have this wild celebration, and his celebration, you could tell he was so overcome with the emotion of what he had just done. And everybody on that team, like holding on to Messi, hugging Messi, and Messi's like happy and like getting the fans into it, and they're all like hugging him and sobbing. I don't
think he realized. I don't think it hit him. I think he was. It's good when it does. It'll be really interesting. But in the moment, I think he was just. It didn't. I don't think he realized what he had just accomplished. He didn't need the World Cup to be the GOAT, but now that argument's off the table.
He needed where he needed the World Cup. He needed the World Cup to be the GOAT in his own country.
Yeah.
He needed the GOAT to get. He needed the cup to get the Maradona people off his back. And now Messi is not only the best player maybe ever. I mean, it's hard to compare
of his generation,
right? Certainly of his generation. And Mbappe is going to end up being in that conversation too. He's a phenomenal player. But Yeah, I mean, I saw Pele, but after his prime. I was a kid watching Pele play for the New York Cosmos, and that team was amazing. I've heard people talk about the greatest player is either this guy, this guy, this guy. Like, wait, two of those guys played for the Cosmos. Franz Beckenbauer, who was So I watched those guys as a kid growing up. I will also remember two other things. One, the Pulisic goal that he scored against Iran.
Yes.
That goal will live on in
just the laser left foot.
Yeah,
was that the one? Or no, I'm thinking of the one he rang off the post against.
Right, the one he crashed into the keeper and got Iran. And Kane missing the penalty. I mean, Kane's a foot and a half over the bar.
Yeah, right? Dude, you can't miss over the bar. Miss over the bar.
Me, great soccer coach that I am. Every time at practice, I kept telling the guys, any shot over the bar, we can't do anything with. I would rather you roll it on the ground than hit it over the bar. Wide is better. Wide, you never know, might hit a body, but over the bar, we can't help. So, got to keep it under the bar. I was shocked that Kane skied it. I mean, I could see it getting saved, but I mean, a foot and a half over the bar for Harry Kane.
Well, as an Arsenal fan, I hate that for England, but the whole narrative of you can't take two when Mbappe sits here and takes 3 penalties, Messi hits 2.
Right.
Like there's levels to this.
Yeah, there is. He just sailed it over the bar. That's all he did.
A buddy of mine sent me the stat across all competitions. This blew my mind. But at this point in his career at 23, Mbappe has more goals and assists and trophies than Messi did at 23, club and country. The assist piece blew my mind.
Yeah, he's just electric. He's absolutely electric. He's so much fun.
Heard him described as a force of nature by Peter Drury. It's like,
I mean, I called him a tornado.
Yeah.
That's what I see Mbappe. I'm like, I don't know how you stop. You can't stop it. He is like, I know you like to say about Man City that they are inevitable. Mbappe is inevitable. They are inevitable. All right, this was fun. I have a hockey game coming up. That's Jay. That's Alec. I recognize you. Infantino.
I haven't aged. a bit.
Good to see you, Alec.
All right, brothers. We'll do it again.
All right, boys.
All right, sounds good.
Peace.
Take care.